84 WHAS. You know, this is why I work in radio. Radio, ladies and gentlemen. We have a new YouTube channel, by the way, an 84 WHAS YouTube channel, and because of that, I was trying to be a camera operator because I have in the studio with me right now gubernatorial candidate Phil Moffett, and we thought we would videotape our interview, Phil, and then we will play it on our YouTube channel.
So you're implementing a sunshine law in your own studio.
I am. This is Let the Sunshine In on 84 WHAS.
It's a great idea.
You heard me talking about that as you were driving in, I'm sure.
Yes.
I am shocked at how little transparency is built in here in Kentucky. If you become governor and I start harassing you about really opening up and adopting some stringent sunshine regulations, what is your take on that?
I think it's a fabulous idea, and it's no surprise that Forbes magazine ranked us as the worst run state in America. You get a ranking like that when you do things behind closed doors. In our legislature, quite literally, the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, and the Governor basically make all the major decisions behind closed doors, and then once they've made their decisions, they roll that out to the rank and file legislators and tell them what they need to vote on, where we really don't get representation from our rank and file guys. If they're not part of leadership, we're really underrepresented. And that's a big part of the problem in Frankfort.
So right now in Frankfort, we are, I guess, gearing up a special session today with, from where I'm sitting, complete waste of time because there's no agreement on how to fix this Medicaid hole.
That's right, and they could sit there for weeks, quite literally. And we knew we had a Medicaid hole back in, I believe, July or early August of last year. And there were no negotiations prior to the session. There were no discussions on how do we cut an incredibly large percentage. I believe it's 1.78% of our budget, which I'm being sarcastic here because that's a ridiculously low number. That's
like 3 cups of coffee for me a month in my budget.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot.
Well,
so what would you, and I know you're running against David Williams in the primary, obviously. You're running as a GOP candidate for governor. But do you agree with his proposal on how to fix the Medicaid budget? I know enough about you as a fiscal conservative to think that you cannot be in favor of the governor's moving money around and kicking that problem down the road strategy.
Right. My problem with Senator Williams' approach to this is that it doesn't address any systemic problems that we have in state government. We overspend on a lot of things, and why we aren't taking this opportunity to look at procedural or process things that we do improperly or incorrectly at the state level to cut costs out, not only for a one-time shot, but for a longer term. I'll give you a couple of examples. We are a prevailing wage state in Kentucky, and I know this has been a fight before where we couldn't get rid of the prevailing wage. And what that means is that on any state project, when we build a building or we build a road, we voluntarily pay union wages on those projects, which means we overpay for the union labor portion of this by about 25 or 30% on every project. But why don't we take this opportunity to cut costs out like that and just do construction projects on a market rate as opposed to the prevailing wage? We could look at education as a way. We have the highest percentage of non-teaching personnel per student than any school system in the nation.
Now, is that statewide or is that...
It's a statewide figure,
Now,
yes.
Let me ask you this, though, because a lot of people, and I've always been in favor of local control when it comes to school. I favor local control over any kind of state or federal control until I moved to Jefferson County. And then I honestly, I'll be perfectly honest, this is challenging my belief in local control. How does the state, I mean, is that a micromanaging? How do you do that? As governor, say, look, we've got too many non-instructional personnel. How do you manage that at the state level? How do you change that?
Well, you could do it a couple of ways. You could demand statutorily that a certain percentage of the personnel have to be in the classroom, or a certain percentage of the dollars spent on education have to be spent in the classroom. Right now, in terms of personnel, less than 44% of our total personnel are teachers in our public school system.
You are joking me.
No, I'm not. I wished I were, quite honestly. I wished I were. But we're
Holy mackerel!
43.8% of our personnel are teachers.
That is stunning to me.
And it's a ridiculous number. If you look nationwide, the average is about 51%. So it's still a bad number nationwide, but we're the second worst, which I'm sure that doesn't surprise you. That seems to be
Please tell me
our
Mississippi's the
perpetual
worst, right? Mississippi's the worst on that one?
I don't recall who
Dang
it
it.
was. I think it was Virginia, but I'm not sure.
Well, you know, I always say thank God for Mississippi. So let me get back to the Medicaid question specifically. Do you think that, where are you on managed care, first of all?
I think managed care is a good idea. Anything that's being provided by the private market as opposed to the public sector, I think is the best way to approach a cost-cutting measure, because competition always lowers costs and improves quality. Now, in the managed care sector, I believe we only have one managed care provider currently at the state level, and we need to open that door to many more competitors so that these groups can compete against each other and drive those costs down.
It is hard to believe that in, especially as many healthcare companies that we have based in Louisville, that we would not be able to competitively bid that out.
That's right.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Well, let me ask you this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask you this, and then you can think about it on the break, and then we'll come back and talk about it. I want to go through some issues with you, just issue by issue. As people are still getting to know you as you're running for governor, I want to hit some of the high points. You're going to be with us until 11. We're going to take some phone calls starting at 10:35.
Great.
So if people have questions for Phil Moffett, they can call in then. When we get back, I want you to address what you think the most serious problem facing Kentucky is right now, and what you do about it if or when you become governor. We're talking with Phil Moffett. He's running for the GOP ticket for governor. We'll be right back after this on 84 WHAS.